and in this particular instance, I know the premises you're talking about, and we have met and discussed that and considered a way forward. I'm actually quite interested on the tables and chairs point, if I may, just for a moment. And there's a huge difference between al fresco dining and the sort of vertical drinking that Mr. Woodham was talking about, and we have to be very careful, I think, to get our policy right there. Do people... I personally think that encouraging an al fresco dining scene in central London, which we have been trying to do, is very important. Do people agree? Do people think we're going about it the right way, or do people think we have major problems in our approach? And I know, again, this is one of the places, or one of the themes that residents feel very passionate about at times in the correspondence that we receive.
For residents who don't know, can you guess that's what vertical drinking?
Yes, standing on the pavement drinking outside. Sorry. Forgive me. That's the least worst jargon that I've used in a long time as well. No. My leader gave an interview the other day saying we're all to use plain English, so I will do my very best. I apologize for that. Christine.
Christine Yao from Chinese Community Center. I think we don't mind vertical drinking, or we welcome al fresco dining. It adds color to the city. But I think the management of the operations, they have to be looked at, because very often very narrow streets are occupied by these vertical drinkers. If they can be confined to one area, it's all right, but the pedestrian cannot pass. And especially people in wheelchairs, they find it very difficult.
Thank you. On the vertical drinking point, now we know what it is. No, not on that point. On the tables and chairs, there is a proliferation of that, and okay, that's quite nice culturally. It increases, I'm going to say something unpopular, it increases the numbers of covers that restaurants and cafes can get for the space. I am wondering whether the council sees that as an income stream in terms of helping with the rubbish problem and paying for that is associated with people being given public space, effectively, for commercial activity for no payment.
Interesting. I have never seen it in...
If you have 10 tables outside, how many covers is that?
That's for the restaurant, ultimately. Yep. I don't see it as an income stream for the council. If anything, in terms of enforcement and in terms of waste collection, like it's an expense. Mr. Bennett.
I just wanted to pick up on what Christine had said. The problem often in Soho, which is a centre for entertainment and restaurants and so on, is that the pavements are very narrow. And quite often, when as a society, we look at planning applications, drawings are put forward which show very tiny tables, very tiny chairs, very cramped up against the side of the premises in order to leave the requirement of 1.8 metres on the pavement, when one knows that should anybody sit down at those tables, let alone those chairs, let alone move the chairs, there will not be the 1.8. And I think that sometimes it would be very useful if either in planning terms, people looked at the actual space that is likely to be occupied by those tables and chairs, and perhaps consented the tables and chairs, but for lower numbers, because I think that would probably be better for the diners, better for wheelchair users, people with pushchairs, people wanting to get past, than trying to cram the maximum number of covers in, which I think is rather self-defeating, and also brings the whole ambience rather down market and cheek by jowl, and probably makes people drop things and so on. So actually I think some of the plans are just completely and utterly unrealistic about what will actually happen in practice.
I agree with you on...
The costs of that, the rubbish clean-up, should be transferred to residents, is my point.
Understood. In terms of plans, I agree with you that plans can often be very deceptive. My personal bugbear has always been oversized cars and trees on scale models by architects, and it's a very similar thing. Anyone else have anything on this particular point? We're certainly not going to take 3 hours of your evening up, which is no bad thing.
Well, just before we go to the break, because that's the next thing, rather than leaving all the any questions till last, does anyone have any particular other points they wanted to raise about entertainment uses? And then we'll concentrate on arts and cultural uses in the second part of the meeting. Were there any other comments anybody wanted to make?
I think this is on things like, as precisely as the list says, are we striking the right... I'm hesitant to use this word again now, balance on opening hours, number of people in venues, where we will and will not allow venues to open and the like.
Can I just ask,
Please.
On the question of people being outside drinking, standing, vertical, whatever,
is there any kind of control in terms of limit to the people? Or are they just sort of...
Some licences can. Chris, do you want to answer some of this? Is that more appropriate?
If I can, yes. My name is Chris Rowe. I'm the Licensing Policy Manager, and so I'm interested in, obviously, what's going on in relation to this. It can vary. The conditions on some licences do restrict people from drinking outside, taking their drinks outside and drinking it. And that may be historic. I would say the majority of licences that we have tend not to have any restriction on it. But obviously the council is conscious that there can be problems caused by individual premises. So our approach is to deal with issues as they arise at individual premises. So there's no blanket policy against people taking their drinks outside and drinking outside, but where it causes problems and difficulties in their immediate locality, then we can take action. As been described, we can speak and we can persuade people to address the problems that are caused, and ultimately we have the sanction of reviewing premises and preventing people from leaving the premises with their drinks for parts of the day or at all. So that's the approach we take from a licensing point of view.
And I think I can back that up by saying, as Chris knows better than most, actually, we have just won a review hearing and a subsequent judicial review where we did precisely that. Outside drinking was causing a problem. It was causing a nuisance to neighbours in amplified terms, and our licensing committee's decision to forbid outdoor drinking at that establishment has been upheld by the courts. So there are a number of ways that we can deal with it, but where appropriate and proportional.
as long as it's proportionate to the size of the premises, and when it goes mad.
And this is the problem at some of the premises that Mr. Woodham was mentioning earlier, where it does spill across both sides of the street. Absolutely. Yes, the gentleman at the back.
On a point of information following up that, has the smoking ban made a noticeable increase to this? Because certainly just observing it, it seems to me it has, because smokers, of course, have to go outside nowadays, usually.
Well, in most of the particular instances where we've looked at taking action, I would say that the problem is not necessarily just smokers leaving the premises for a short period of time to smoke. In the particular case that we're discussing, it was almost the policy of the premises to use the outside area as part of their premises, and you could say they were even encouraging people to go outside. So generally, although people smoking can cause problems, and for instance we have conditions which have been put on licences which restrict the number of people at any one time which may be allowed to leave the premises for the purpose of smoking, generally they're not the premises which we've had cause to review so far.